Hello, welcome to another video. Last video we studied out our bathroom, we got all our drains in, ready for the new furniture, and what we're going to do is the next stage. So we need to start getting some water back in there, plot out where we're going to put our lights and our shower and all that stuff. So I'm going to start by putting the shower cable in. I've had to run an initial cable from the board over to where we're going to put the isolator for the shower. We're then going to move it from the isolator ready to where it's going to go. After that, I'm going to plot where I'm going to put these down lights. It's a bit of a funny shaped ceiling, but I'm sure I'll work it out as I go. Okay, so now we've got our shower cable in, we've got our incoming feed, then it's going to go to an isolator which is going to be attached to that noggin. Our shower cable then runs all the way down this ceiling and it's going to pop out in the wall there where we're going to have our shower. Now for the lights, so my thoughts are I'm going to go put a central one so it's above the door there, and then I think I'll go 2 every other joist gap, and then I'm going to place 1 above where the shower is going to be right at the end. Now all the cables are in the ceiling. I have been a little bit cheeky and done a bit of pipe work just off camera, so I've put all the feeds in for everything what we're doing. Now all of our cable and pipe are in, pretty much roughly where they're going to go. I can start thinking about getting some self-level down on this floor. I'm going to put self-level down because once all the plumbing's actually all connected up and tested, it means I can start plasterboarding the walls, so I want a nice base to work off. So obviously the first step to doing this floor is preparation. As you can see, I've already put a slurry coat of cement and a little bit of sand on the floor. All this is going to do is stick to the tiles a little bit more so the self-level has something to grip onto, because there's obviously a bit of a glossy finish on the tiles and we don't want the self-level coming back up. First thing we're going to do is seal the floor. We're going to do this because if we don't, the suction's going to be too much for the self-leveling compound and we're going to get an effect known as pinholing. Pinholing is where the air is drawn up through the concrete and it makes bubbles in the self-level. Those bubbles pop and then they don't close back up, so you end up with like a pinhole effect, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So to do this, we're going to be using good old friend PVA. All we're going to do with the PVA is pour a bit on the floor, brush it around, and we're going to wait for it to pull into the floor slightly so it has a slightly tacky surface, and then we can mix up our leveling compound and pour it on top. Okay, now all the self-level's poured. As you can see, it's covered the whole floor, so we're going to come back tomorrow when it's dry. After the self-leveling was dry, I could fit my mattresses for my shower, toilet and radiator. This is just going to give me something solid to screw the equipment into when I need to fit it. Now that all of our mattresses are in for our shower, toilet and radiator, I can start looking at getting some insulation in here. Now I'm going to be using 200mm rock wool, and that's just going to go between the joists. I am, however, before I plasterboard this ceiling, going to have to put my downlight hoods in, obviously to stop the downlighters causing any fires due to being too hot. But for now, I'm going to get all of the rock wool in and we can put the downlight hoods in before we plasterboard the ceiling. After the insulation was in, I could put my downlight hoods in. These are going to give the downlights a bit of air circulation to dissipate some of the heat that they're going to generate. Usually you put them in from above, but because it's a flat roof I'm not able to, so I'm just using some screws to slightly tack them into the underside of the roof so they don't move. Once all the roof was done, I could start putting some plasterboards up. Some of these cuts were a little bit frustrating because of the shape of the roof, but I got there in the end. Once all the plasterboards were up, it was time to cut out the downlights. Now I did make a lighting map and I had to make a note of where they all were, and I had one shot to get them all right since the downlight hoods were fixed in place. Luckily I got them all on the first try. Okay, so I feel like I've cheated on you guys a little bit because since that last time lapse my camera died. So I did carry on with the work, so I've managed to get everything insulated on the stud walls bar that panel there, because we're going to put an extractor fan in there, so we need to put a hole in the bricks first. But I have proceeded to insulate the rest of the room. I've got 2 plasterboards on the wall, so I've got 2 plasterboards left before I need to go and pick some more up. So I'm going to pop those on the wall and then we can proceed to put our extractor pipe in. Okay, now that that's done, we can start putting our tube in for our extractor fan. I'm going to be using the same stuff as we use for our waste pipe for our toilet. And all I'm going to do is use this long drill bit, and it's going to go through the 2 skins of brick in the shape of our circle there. Obviously a core drill would have been ideal for this, but I don't own one, so this is how it's getting done. And half an hour later we have a pipe in for our extractor fan. Okay, so now we're getting to the point pretty much where the only thing we can do is plasterboard the walls and start plastering, but we've still got one more thing we need to do before we can carry on with that, and that will be the door frame. Now we have all of our self-leveling and all of our floor levels set. I'll be now more comfortable cutting the opening for this door, because I know that the finished floor level in the kitchen isn't going to end up too different, because I didn't want my frames sunk into the floor. So we'll do that, and then we'll just finish off all of our dry lining. Now that the door frame's in, I'm going to carry on plasterboarding everything, and then we've got to put the furniture back in place, and I've got to build some little partitions between some of the furniture, like some built-in shelves next to the shower and a partition between the toilet and the bath. Okay, so now that everything's boarded, I'm going to get all the furniture back in place. I'm going to start measuring out where I'm going to put these little partitions and these shelves. Okay, so this is how we're looking with all the furniture in. So we'll start with the toilet. Obviously, when you're sitting in the bath, you don't want to be staring at the toilet. So my idea with this is I'm going to build a partition, probably about 1 metre high, and probably just come out past this bath. I'm going to build it out of 3x2 because I obviously want it quite wide. And that'll allow enough space at the side of it to put toilet brush or whatever. Moving on to the shower, I'm going to be using 2x2 for that frame. And that's basically going to infill this gap here to create an alcove in the shower. I'll build it out of 2x2 because it's going to allow me a bit more space to make some little shelves in there, which obviously means more places to put stuff. Okay, so I do apologise, my phone died halfway through that time lapse, but I carried on regardless, and this is our end result. So now we've got 2 built-in shelves. We've got one nice deep one here, so I can put some towels in it, toilet rolls, whatever I want. I've also got one built into the shower here. Now obviously there's a shower screen going in front of all this, so that's going to be to store all your shampoos, body washes, all that good stuff. So at the moment we're looking pretty good, we're getting there. One of the next parts we need to do is actually the window. We need to pop some reveals on it. So I've got some old insulated plasterboard, so I'm just going to cut that up. I'm going to stick those reveals on now, and then all we've got left to do is our bath frame. So we're going to build our bath frame just like we build any other stud wall, and it's going to cradle the bath to support the edges when all the weight of the water and people are inside it. Obviously the bath does have legs, but this is just going to give it a bit of extra support and stop it flexing so much around the edges. Okay, so that's it from me guys for this video. Next video we're going to be in the dreaded kitchen, which we're going to start dry lining, and then once all that's done we're going to have 3 rooms. We'll have our dining room, our kitchen and our bathroom ready to skim out, and then we'll start fitting our furniture, get our kitchen in, tile the bathroom, all that stuff. So I do appreciate you guys watching these videos. I know they're a bit long sometimes, so if you've made it with me all the way to the end, thank you. A lot of time and effort goes into these, as well as a lot of money. Well, not so much to make a video, but obviously to do the work. So yeah, if you subscribe, like the video, I appreciate the support. Thank you so much. See you on the next one.